So clearly, we have to end this particular video on the quote that Garcin has about hell being other people. Garcin goes to the bronze Barbedien, which is this ugly, ugly bronze statue that's too heavy to move. He can't, right? Nothing can be done. Nothing can be moved around. He goes to this bronze piece and says, this bronze, yes, now's the moment. I'm looking at this thing on the mantelpiece and I understand that I'm in hell. I tell you, everything's been thought out beforehand. They knew I'd stand at the fireplace stroking this thing of bronze with all those eyes intent on me, devouring me. He swings around abruptly. What? Only two of you? I thought there were more, many more. So this is hell. I'd never have believed it. You remember all we were told about the torture chambers, the fire and the brimstone, the burning marl, old wives' tales. There's no need for red-hot pokers. Hell is other people. How do we understand this, right? How do we get here? How does it play into existentialism? How does it play into absurdism? How does it play into philosophy in general? I think it would be easy to understand this as hell being other people being terrible, right? And hell being the fact that other people will always be better at hurting you than you are at hurting yourself. But I don't think that is the way we are to understand this. When he says that hell is other people, I believe that what he is indicating is that we exist in other people's eyes and they have control over our narrative, right? We cannot control the way that they think about us. And so the best way to feel as if you are in hell, according to Sartre, is to imagine that you no longer control your own narrative. Now, is this a depressing idea? I think it is, right? I think it's a pretty negative idea, but I think it also puts the ball back into our court, right? That we can either choose to believe this or not, right? That in a way, Sartre both presents us with the worst and the best of the way that existence and existentialism is. We are either responsible for our own actions, and people will misconstrue them and misunderstand them, and that can affect us very deeply, because we will look around at other people and keep trying to convince them that we are not the person that they think we are. Or we can act, we can be responsible, we can do the things that we know with the full knowledge that we are the ones in control of our own actions and our own lives, and then say it doesn't matter what other people think, right? Our life is ours. We have done what we have done, and as long as we are comfortable with what we have done with our own lives, it doesn't matter if people think of us as different than we perceive ourselves to be. The other people present that negative to us, or present an image that is a reflection of ourselves, but that is marred by what they believe, right? If we look in a mirror, what we see in the mirror is exactly what is reflected back to us. If we look at other people and ask them to say what they think of us, it can never be a pure reflection, right? It will always be tainted by something that they believe, either good or bad. But that right there, right, that losing control over the narrative is what Garcin considers to be true hell, right? Now, all three of these characters are responsible for their own actions, have in some way denied their responsibility, have some way been cruel to other people, and done things that, have earned them, if you will, a place here. I think it's also important to consider that what Garcin is also saying, hell being other people, is that because there is no afterlife, according to Sartre, because there is nothing after we die, that our existence, right, is defined here and now, and that really we are in a heaven or a hell of our own choosing for our entire lives, right? That we are either, right, content with ourselves and with what we've done and willing to accept what we've done and to be okay with the judgment that we receive, or we are constantly at the mercy of the gaze of others. Is it as easy as all that? No, I don't think so. There's a very important writer by the name of Frantz Fanon, who describes the first time that he was in France. He was a black man from the Caribbean who was studying in France, and his first time on a train in France realized that he no longer had control over what people thought of him. There was a young child who was looking at him and who was afraid because he was black and she was white, and he realized that the narrative was out of his control. This presents, right, a counterpoint to what we've seen with Sartre, right, that these three characters are experiencing that and realizing that they're experiencing that for the first time, but that there are many people who realize that even if they don't care what other people think, what other people think can be and often is very dangerous. Fanon felt very afraid of what people might do because of his race, and had reason to be afraid because he knew the stories from colonial times. He knew the danger that black Americans were running in that era, with lynchings, with beatings, with the civil rights movement turning violent. And so what we see here does meet reality in a certain way when we confront what the world is like. I think this is a great allegory. This is a great allegorical statement about what our responsibilities are, what other people perceive of us. And it's an interesting idea that you are around until your memory disappears, right? Certainly not an original idea to Sartre only, but one that we can take into consideration. So how do we wrap this up? I think what we do with this information, what we do with the existentialism, the absurdism, this particular play, is that we continue, right, to continually look for, right, what are people's responsibilities? Are they being responsible? If we evaluate all these characters, we easily can see that from the point of view of an existentialist, they have failed in their ability to be people who are responsible and who are that their existence now, right, precedes, right, their essence, and the essence and the judgment of other people is deeply problematic for them. And from an absurdist point of view, we see that big disconnect between what we've expected hell to be and what hell actually can be. And it's presented us with an opportunity, right, to look at the struggle, right, that we have on a day-to-day basis, and to reevaluate sort of the way that struggle is happening in light of what we've read here. So next week we're going to be starting to learn about the theory of the absurd. There will be a PowerPoint that you will want to take a look at that will explain a little bit more about what we're doing, but we're going to be reading that first introductory chapter by Martin Esslin and preparing ourselves for Samuel Beckett and the section about the theory of the absurd. So join me there, and I will see you next week.